Welcome to the Legacy Through Land podcast, where we're dedicated to empowering you on your journey to land ownership and management. I'm Tyler Markham, your host, and each week we'll dive deep into the world of land investing, management strategies, and the transformative experiences tied to owning your very own piece of dream dirt. With our expert guests, inspiring stories, and actionable advice, we're committed to helping you become a better land manager, hone your investing skills, and start building your family's legacy through land. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. We hope you'll enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of the Legacy Through Land podcast. I cannot tell you how great of a story we're going to get into today, but if you've listened to all my episodes or you're just getting started over here, I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. There's a lot of work that goes into getting these done, but for me, I'm just really determined to go and tell great stories that all evolve around dirt and creating legacy through land for you and your family. And there is no better story that I can think of right now than what we're going to get to hear today from my new friend, Josh Duncan. If you don't know who Josh is, he has a new obsession for collecting antlers, and there is quite the story to tell about the famous deer known as the General and his recent purchase of the shed antlers from the General. So that is just the tip of the iceberg. There is enormous value to be had here in just the business stories and some of the things that we get to talk through that are centered around our faith, around grit, this word grit that he brings up, and just taking massive action in business and in life. Cannot wait for you guys to listen to this one. We're going to jump right in. It's not even worthy of an update of whatever's going on in my company right now. There's enough great time spent with us talking through things with Josh. We're going to jump right into it. Hope you enjoy. All right. I've said it already, but I could not be more excited about today's episode. Josh, thank you for being willing to be on here with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It absolutely will be the pleasure of mine and all of the listeners if we are going to ever talk about telling stories and going on a journey together. I only know like 2% of Josh Duncan right now, and I know there is so much more to know. So out of the gate, the things that we could talk about that would result in a 6-hour podcast for everybody or more is our faith and business ventures and hunting and our family. And we have connected through business and friendships, friends of friends, and we've connected about killing deer and being outdoorsmen, and we've connected about being men and all these things. But I know there are some incredible stories that Josh wants to tell. And if you guys know anything about me and this podcast is built to help someone build their belief that they can chase their dream. They can do it. And Josh is going to be super humble. I've already felt this about him. I'm going to have to pull this out of him. He keeps thinking he is nobody. So we are going to let a nobody tell us how to dream big and just go from there. So I will have to tell everyone, and then I'll shut up and we'll get started here. I'm going to have to tell you that this will be a podcast that you're going to leave asking yourself so many more questions. And I promise I will not do any more business with Josh unless he agrees to come back on. So we'll get him a second or a third or a sixth time so that we can continue this virtual campfire conversation. But Josh, tell us, who is Josh Duncan? Where are you from? Where you live now? What kind of comes to mind when you think of who is Josh?
I think nobody was perfect, really. Honestly, I'm nobody. But I mean,
here we go.
I think that's my biggest success is I am nobody, but I know somebody and more than one somebody, right? Relationships, right? Starting with your relationship with Christ, and then friends and family, and just relationships is huge for me. But born in Georgia in 1978. My dad worked for the federal prison. He left there in 1980, went to Leavenworth, Kansas. I lived in Kansas for 80 to 87. Yeah, I moved to West Virginia in 1987 when I was in the 4th grade. And I'm a mountaineer, man. I got blue and gold in my veins. I've been here pretty much since then. A little stint in Virginia for a couple of years after I got married. But I'm a mountaineer, man.
So did your dad, I already have so many questions. I mean, guys, you lived in Georgia, then Kansas, then came back to West Virginia. I'm born and raised West Virginia, so no disrespect to the Mountaineer State. What your dad get transferred to West Virginia, or what landed you guys there finally?
Yeah, so he worked at Atlanta. They were going to shut the prison down. There was this big hostage crisis and everything, and so they said, "Hey, you got to go to Kansas." And it was a move up for him, and he always took the opportunities to do better for himself and his family. So we moved to Kansas, and then he got a really big position offer at a very small prison, right? It's Alderson, West Virginia.
I literally know where this is.
Yeah. So that prompted the move to West Virginia. And, thank God we did. I love it here. I love West Virginia. Absolutely love it. And an interesting side note, my mother got cancer. And if she had not gotten cancer, they were going to ask him, and he would have moved to Phoenix, Arizona, to get an even bigger position with more money. So I was young enough that I would have moved with him. So, but it was meant to be for us to stay in West by God.
That's amazing. You told me, you just said, did you guys landed in West Virginia in 80 something?
87. Yep.
87. Well, I'm dating myself. I was born in 88. By 3 days left, I'm basically an 89 baby. So
yep.
you moved here back before I was a thought. When you moved here in 87, you're born in 78. So I'm trying to do some math here. Kansas, I'm guessing you probably didn't have the ability or the age yet to have much hunting memory in Kansas.
No, not at all. My first hunting experience was with my grandfather in Georgia, going back to see family. It took me dove hunting. He had a Remington 1187 shotgun, and I shot at least 5 boxes of shells, and I would bragged for months about killing 2 doves.
I was getting ready to say it, and he maybe even killed a dove.
Yeah. And I think I shot the power. I think I was shooting one time and shot into a power line and knocked the neighbor's power out. So it was great.
Nice. But everybody, the statute has run, so we are not here to incriminate anyone. Oh, dude. Well, I'll tell you already, when Josh says, we know someone, not only does he refer to the network, and I say it all the time, your network is your net worth, but we're talking about someone. We're talking about our Savior. And when we started talking offline about, hey, what are some of the millions of topics that I could pull out of Josh today that we could deep dive on? He stopped me and said, faith. He just said, I hate talking about me. I want to talk about he and just this vision and dream that God's given you that you've had the courage to chase. So already I've got 17 sidebars, but we're going to keep going. West Virginia. Not born in West Virginia, but home since 87. And you told me you're down close to like Greenbrier.
Yeah, Greenbrier County. Yeah, I live in Lewisburg, close to the Greenbrier Hotel, which is in White Sulphur Springs. Yeah, my office is just about 5 minutes from the Greenbrier. So.
Are you a golfer?
No. I like to go. I'm not any good. My son is an up and coming golfer, so he's kind of sparked some interest for me to get back into it. But no, I'm not a golfer.
Tell us about your family. I met one of your sons. How many do you have? What's your family like?
Yep. So my oldest son, Alex, he's 22 years old now. He's my right-hand man, and then I got my daughter who is my princess. She's at Clemson. She's 18 years old, freshman down in Clemson. She's a go-getter, love her to death. And Colin is my third wild child. He's 13 years old, and he keeps us on our toes. He's a prankster and a gangster.
Shout out to them kids. Shout out to Alex. I did get to meet Alex. Very, very fine young man. Really, really nice to get to meet him and just kind of watch his candor. And I'm sure your other two are the same. So we won't sidebar if you've got your daughter looking for kind of any inside clues, whether Dabo's, gone or not. I love me some Dabo. So hopefully, prayers there, but,
I do think won the last game, so he's it's a game by game these days. You're a hero or zero based on if you won or lost.
Yeah, I think the cord to his hot seat is unplugged currently, but it is at a close proximity to the outlet right now. So, man. All right, I digress. Me and some college football, but that's awesome. I've actually never been on Clemson campus or around, but I've heard like in the college football and college era, it's one of the cream of the crop. So,
no, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So, and your wife, how long you guys been married?
So we got married April 28th, 2001. So do the math. We're coming up on 25 years next April. So,
man, I hope she listens to this because he rattled it right off, folks. He didn't even have to double clutch and think about it for a second.
Yeah, she's trained me well. We talked about knowing somebody, oh gosh, she is, without that, it's hard to perform if you're under duress. Like, it's hard to like focus on getting stuff done and all that stuff. If there's stuff in the background, if you're worried about money or worried about relationships or worried about your home life. And I am so blessed that, man, she is just a rock, a total rock in my life. She's always there, always around. She's a rock for our family. And I thank God for it, for sure.
Dude, I so echo that. I don't know if you're like me, Josh, and Josh has a few years on me, so I would already consider him a mentor. And for anyone that's listening, the value of exploiting someone's experiences to benefit your own is real. So, Josh, I always wonder if my wife will wake up and just realize it, like that I way outkicked my coverage, and we're 16 years in. So I'm like, maybe it's, maybe there's a chance that she won't figure that out. But when people are like seeing us in public, like, I know what you're thinking. And I think the same thing. I don't know either. I think she just finds me handy because I don't know what it was. Sounds like you got the same kind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I ask her sometimes, I said, have you ever just stopped and thought about it? How blessed you are. And she goes, have you ever stopped and thought about it?
Yeah. Have you ever shut your mouth? Yeah. Mine would say, have you ever paid our mortgage? Like, do you know where it goes?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know we had one.
What's a mortgage?
You ever listen to Nate Bargatze? He's a comedian.
My wife and I just went and watched him live.
Dude, so good. So good.
I love that.
Yeah, we've seen him twice now. I saw him 2 years apart in Charleston, West Virginia first, and there was like maybe 300 people, maybe 500. 2 years later, in Nationwide Arena in Columbus, sold out 2 nights in a row. I mean, 20,000 people. I don't know, but he is hilarious. But yeah, he's like, yeah, if I had a bank account, where would it be? I don't know. You'll have to ask my wife. Yeah. Well, already that's the foundation. I mean, Josh, I know you're going to agree. That's the foundation that when you have the home right and you have your foundational 4 corners right and you have your faith right and you've got your family right, it allows you to chase what God wants for you. It does. And so I just can't echo that enough. If that stuff isn't right, and I know it starts with my wife, it starts with my relationship with Christ, and then it starts directly next is my relationship with my wife. And if that stuff isn't right, you just can't win. You just can't. It's a very shallow victory, usually. Yeah. So you're doing a little bit of business. What do you do? What do you do that's fun? And what have you gotten into? If we just kind of look at the, 10,000-foot view, what have you gotten into in your career?
Well, I went to college at Glenville State College. That's where I met my wife, and I got a degree in business management. Was blessed to work for Jim Justice right out of college, and got to spend time with him. I don't want to say I was his personal hunting and fishing guide, but I probably could have held that title. And I got to do cool stuff. I got to manage Stony Brook Plantation, where we did turkey hunts and deer hunts and bird hunts. And quite honestly, just to shoot straight with you, I learned more about business being around Jim Justice in about 10 minutes than I did in 4 years of college. And that's
amazing. That is amazing.
He taught me about not making excuses. Like, why is it again you couldn't do that? I just thought of 15 ways you could get that done. And I thought, man, they didn't teach me that in college. They didn't teach me to critically think. Yeah. He's a critical thinker, right? So I was like, wow, there's a whole nother world out here that I don't know about yet. Yeah. But I want to learn it.
That is so awesome. Already, Josh, just small world. My dad graduated from Glenville State. So
nice.
Yeah. Yep. So now if you've opened up, for those of you who aren't West Virginia natives, Jim Justice who is Jim Justice currently?
He's Baby Dog's dad.
I was getting ready. You took it from me. I was getting ready to say, in your tenure with our Jim Justice, did you meet and help take care of Baby Dog? My career with Jim was great. It was way before Baby Dog. This is when his son and daughter were younger, and
pre-Jill going to Clemson those days.
Okay.
So I got to be around them a little bit, and it was a great 4 years of my life for sure.
Let's see if I get this right. Glenville State Pioneers.
Pioneers. It's Glenville State University now. I mean,
whoa.
Yeah, GSU. Talking about the U. Yep.
My Braden, the one that you didn't get to meet that was mad there the day not getting to meet you, Braden goes to Wheeling University, not Wheeling Jesuit, okay?
Right. Yep.
Wheeling University now. Yeah.
Yep.
So
the U's a big deal. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, I think it's still the same. Anyway.
Yeah, it's basically the same. Yeah.
That is awesome, though. That is so awesome. Small world. So what did you go to college for? What was your degree technically in?
So I got a bachelor's of science in business administration with a focus in management. And I did take an awesome class there. I took a forestry class. I took the lab part where I went out in the field and learned the scientific names of the trees. And I did get an A in that, but to be honest with you, I had a C average in college. But I made an A in dendrology. I love that. I love being outside and learning the trees and the Quercus rubras and the Acer saccharum, and it was good. It was worth it for that.
Everybody place a mental tab in your brain that might serve him well in our future here that we're going to talk through. So keep mental tabs there. And I'll go ahead and say it since it's my podcast. Josh was too nice to say it. The college is currently a scam. Depends. If you're going somewhere that you need a degree in whatever, then you definitely need to go to college. But if you're just going to go bet on yourself, like I think we're going to talk about, they don't currently offer degrees for entrepreneurism. So we could maybe make an argument that if you don't have your poop in a group, that you should not waste money. and I didn't go to college. I always tell everybody I wasn't smart enough to go. My wife went to college, never used her degree at all. Full ride anywhere she wanted, 32 on her ACT, freshman year of high school, full ride anywhere she wanted. Didn't use that. She has a nursing degree, but she is our amazing homemaker, and I think it's the hardest job in the world. So they also don't teach you how to do that in college.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I learned about I heard a term. I wish I'd heard this term back when I was graduating high school, but it's called a high income skill.
Yeah. And
I thought, high income skill. I'm like, I want that. Like, I want to make more money. I want to do better for my family. I want to leave a legacy. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing, a high income skill. And there's so many people that are so smart, that are way smarter than I'll ever be. And if they knew that term and knew that was a thing, that you could like go chase a high income skill, it would change their life for sure.
Yeah. Well, there's another mental tab, high income skill. We're going to give you guys a cheat sheet. There'll be a quiz at the end of this. And it is pass fail. Yeah. You get an honorary degree. We'll see if Glenville State University will, consider it. So I got another topic here. Let's talk through faith and kind of when if you're like me, Josh, I always joke I had a drug problem when I was a kid because I was drugged to every church that was open. I was drugged to every revival, every youth group, everything. And I'm thankful for it. I'm very much thankful for it. So me and faith was probably from birth, whether I knew it or not. But I do know of that time in my life where it was time for me to take ownership of my faith. I couldn't borrow anyone else's, couldn't borrow my parents, grandparents, whomever. There was a time where, I had to decide. And so what has faith, what's the journey been like for you?
Yeah, so growing up, we went to church. It wasn't, we weren't like you. We didn't go every Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, but church was there. Never really understood. The first time I heard a clear presentation from the gospel was from a really, really bad kid in my high school. He gave a clear presentation of the gospel of like, hey, Jesus died for you. He died in your place. If you accept him, it covers up your sins. The death, burial, resurrection of Christ, the whole restoration story. And I laughed. I was like, if it's coming from this guy, I know it's not. But looking back on it, it was a really clear presentation. But he even made the point of like, he's like, I know that's what you're supposed to do, but I'm not doing that. Like, but then go fast forward to college. I met my wife immediately. She's like, hey, you want to come to church Wednesday night? And I'm like, heck yeah, we go to a bar, I'll go to church, we'll go to the tennis court, we'll go play whatever you want to do, like as long as I get to hang out with you. So I went, the first Wednesday night I went, this guy, a really cool guy, he did chalk art, right? So he's up there and he's drawing it's one of those things where he's given a message and he's drawn, given a message, he's drawn. And like for the first 20 minutes, you feel sorry for him because you're like, oh, this guy's
this is rough.
He's a lot better preacher than he is an artist, that's for sure. And then it was just one of those things where all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I see it now. It's amazing. And it was really cool. It was a bridge. He just drew a bridge and he put man over here and God over here. And he just had a bridge. And he explained the verse, 1 Timothy. And 1 Timothy says, for there's one God and one mediator between God and men, the man, Christ Jesus. And that Christ Jesus was that bridge. And it clicked. I was like, and it was funny because I remembered that the story the kid told. I was like, that's the same story, but I believe it now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went, after that service, I asked my wife now, my girlfriend. I don't know if I could call her my girlfriend yet then, but anyway, asked Christy a million questions about the mediator and I'm over here. And well, what about people that never hear it? And all these hard questions, And I can just remember going back to my dorm room in Glenville and just giving my life to Christ and telling him that I wanted to accept him as my Savior. The bridge thing did it for me. So,
amen, man. Amen. That's amazing. So, and obviously, I think that I can assume that this has led a lot of the decision making you've made even up to today.
Some good ones and some bad ones too. Yeah.
Hey, well, we just talked about the man. There was only one that was without sin, so,
that's right.
Or, and had a perfect record. So I know of a handful of things you're involved in, Josh, but like, if you just kind of talk about what excites you. I think we sidebarred earlier. We started into college and kind of the early part of your career, but what are some things that you've been involved in business wise that come to mind?
Yeah. So after college, went to work for Jim Justice. Someone told me to find something you love and figure out how to make money at it. So man, I love being in the outdoors, hunting and fishing. And that was a perfect job for me. I segued from there to another family office over in Paint Bank, Virginia, where I basically did the same thing. Got to run an outfitting business for. We did bow hunting for deer and turkey hunts and fly fishing, and got involved in some other stuff with that family office. But the whole time I'm following my passion for the outdoors with these family offices, I'm listening to conversations about other things these family offices are doing. And at some point in time, I was 35 years old, and I went to my wife and I said, hey, like, I want to create a family office, and I want to like be the guy that goes on the hunts instead of taking people on the hunts. And she's like, yeah, whatever. Cause I have chased so many things in my life business wise that just did not work out. I'm like 1 for 100, and she's there for the 99. Right. So every time I come with a new business idea, and to be fair, it's like a 99% chance it's not going to happen, right? But thankfully, the 1%, it made more than made up for the 99%. So she kind of has learned over time just to like let me go and let me talk and do this stuff. Well, then I just sort of focused in on like that high income skill. That's probably about the time that term came along in my life. Like I want that. I want a high income skill. And then the more I I've just had mentors in my life. So I really just started changing who I was hanging out with. And I started hanging out with guys that I wanted to be like. Yep. These were guys, none of them went to college. They were all street smart guys. They'd all invested either in coal companies or real estate or shopping centers or some sort of development. And I was like, man, I want to do what they do. So I just started hanging out with those guys as much as I can. I know I drove them crazy, but I'm thankful that they put up with me and I got to learn from them. So.
Dude, you have no idea, Josh, how just I could take your talk track and take some of the guys that I've been closest with and the lifestyles that I've tried to closely emulate. It's the exact same thing. And what I mean is, so there's a friend of mine that I'd love to introduce to you sometime, Kevin Harris. He's an attorney in West Virginia, a great friend of mine, really accomplished hunter, really, really good dude. He's got a empire there in Meigs County. Again, Meigs County sucks, but he has always said, since I got to know Kevin at like 19, I was doing the exact same thing as you. I was trying to get around people that I wanted to be like. I saw the fruit of what they had, and I wanted to emulate that. He always told me, man, he said, I just wasn't smart enough to go. I wanted to go to school for something that I could make enough money that I could afford to hunt. He just said, and he said, I wasn't smart enough to be a doctor. So the next thing on the list was lawyer. And he said, and I went to law school, got my degree, passed the bar, the whole nine. And his life today, he's one of the guys that I've said is planning his retirement to Iowa. His entire life journey has been centered around his time in the outdoors and his, growing and building what I would say is an amazing empire. But it's the exact same thing. He said, I wanted to be able to hunt and do the things that I wanted, that I was watching other people do. So I found a career and found a way to be passionate about something that could afford me that opportunity, to be in the outdoors. So it's amazing when you guys obviously don't even know each other. So it's just, I hope for my listeners, it's like, do you hear the common denominators? Like, it can be done. And the law of averages, or that law of attraction, where you will become the 5 closest people in your life. That's what you will become, good or bad. So, what keeps you busy?
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a common denominator too. I was to take some pressure off people. You don't have to be smart. You just have to. There's 2 skills that go along with that high income skill. If you want a high income skill, you need to focus on not like studying and becoming really smart in history or what. I mean, that's great. But if you can do these 2, if you want a high income skill and you have these 2 attributes, you will obtain high income. And it's grit and execution. If you have grit, which means, okay, I've been trying for 4, in my case, 7 years. 7 years. I was 35. I didn't make it till I was 42. 7 years. And the only thing that kept me in there was grit. There was times I wanted to quit. There was times that it didn't make sense to go on. But I hung in there and I made it. But it took 7 years. So if you can have grit. And the other thing is, and this is where a lot of people fall short, it's execution. If you can, in your mind, you can focus on a goal. And you begin with the end in mind, and you think, I want to build a self-storage facility and sell it and make $3 million. That's the goal. Then you turn around and start today, and then your grit part kicks in, and you're going to have to solve 1 million problems to get there. But if you solve 1 million problems, you have grit, and you execute, it will happen. So grit and execution. If you can learn grit and execution, it's over. It's over. You will be successful. I promise. Period.
Amen. And, I'm not a baseball guy at all, but the guy that comes to mind that I hear people always talk about when you look at his stats and then you look at his name and they don't line up is Babe Ruth. Everybody wants to talk about Babe Ruth, and it's like, these stats, if I wouldn't tell you it was Babe Ruth on paper, you would be like, he failed the most.
Yep.
The most. He was willing to fail the most, failing forward. And he is what we know today. And I'm not a baseball guy, so if there's somebody to say, there's been way better than him, great, give me some stats. I just know when you think of an average stat line, that's what people say, an average stat line. If you're going to take a stat line, that one wasn't amazing, but it netted out for him very well. You
ever heard of Abraham Lincoln?
Heard of the guy.
Yeah. So somebody, we won't take the time to go into it now, but just do a Google search on the history of Abraham Lincoln and every time he lost an election and failed. The guy was a miserable failure. Miserable. But he didn't quit. He had grit, and he became a little bit famous.
Yep, for sure. Yep. Man, that's amazing. Grit. And, and I'm going to make the argument, too, that I think you'll agree with. Grit, it's faith, man. This is a faith-based thing that when we are born, God puts something in you bigger than you, and it is your choice to chase it or not. And it's grit. It's grit because it takes courage to chase that. It takes courage. I think courage with action is grit. Yep. It's accepting the courage, and taking action equals grit. And grit is ugly. It's depressing. It's exhausting. It's tiring. It's lonely. It's all, oh my goodness. Yeah. It's lonely, man. There's so many times that I've just thought, and even in my own career, I'm working through this as you and I are on this podcast together. I've had enough failures as well that a lot of people would look back and say, my goodness, you flip 300 houses and you don't think it was a success. Well, I mean, I think it was a pathway to where I'm at now. I think it was part of the journey, but I wouldn't keep the trophy on the wall. But grit kept me moving.
One of my friends let me go to his lake house, my family vacation at his lake house on Lake Kiowee in South Carolina. And I'm down there and I'm looking around, and it's beautiful $1 million homes along the lake. And there's this layer of scum. All the docks down there are floating docks, and there's this layer of scum that just grows there. And everything was perfect except for that. So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to buy a boat. We're going to hire a couple guys. We're going to sell subscriptions, and we're going to go around and clean that scum off these docks. And so I went home, I bought a boat, I was all excited. And then I realized, like, I'm already working 100 hours a week. South Carolina is 7 hours away, and I don't have any help. So yeah, I failed. I called it Doctors. I had a license plate even made for my trailer that said Doctors, like doctors.
Yeah, dude. I actually love it. So
it didn't go anywhere. But I had a boat. That was cool.
Well, for listeners, if you guys want to take this and you're passionate about it, contact Josh. I'll take 10% of the earnings for being the liaison here. I actually don't hate the idea. So
somebody needs to do it, because it's the only bad thing about Lake Kiowee.
And what Josh, I'm sure you will say is true, is the people that will pay for that service have the expendable income that see it as a benefit.
Likely they can afford it. Yeah.
Yeah. So business venture one created through the podcast. Sorry, we'll keep a tally here. I already know of another business venture that would help Josh because his back's kind of hurting today. There's through pain creates business venture opportunity. So maybe we're creating some kind of a, hot shot service here or something. So I don't know, but
yeah.
Anyways, so when we talk about business, what I want to go to next, because when you say family office, I think this is a really nice segue. What I know through friends that know Josh, and by the way, you guys, this is the biggest laugh ever, just so you know. Our mutual friend is a guy named Chris Roush, and I'm going to bring Chris on here. And he's going to listen to this on his dozer, and it's going to be hilarious. But, Chris is like, hey, I think Josh would be good for your podcast. And I don't know Josh. Josh and I don't know each other. And so I'm basically have no clue. I heard about, he said that this guy actually picked up a set of antlers and they happen to be pretty big. And, Chris tells me, like, have you ever heard of this buck and all these things? And I just kind of missed it, like by a mile, missed it. And I think what's so funny is when I step back and now see like what we're doing together here, Chris is the one that's like, well, these are some of the things that Josh is into. And he's rattling like 10 things off. And I'm like, I thought this guy just liked antlers, but there's a lot more to it. So the point of this is our mutual networks have put us together today for us to be able to talk through what Josh is doing. But what Chris told me that I want to dive through is just the family office. And you said it, that you've wanted to create. I believe you are actively creating right now. And my oldest is 12. So what Josh is ahead of me on is, my oldest is 12. His youngest is 13. You're ahead of me on what you can do with your family and business. And I'm loving hearing it. Got to meet his oldest son while we were walking some farms. So what's family business looking like these days? I know you're doing some stuff together.
Yeah. So I feel like on this, I've gone a lot, I travel a lot, I do a lot of stuff, but I always just try to take a kid and go with me. Like yesterday, Alex went with me. I think Alex came up today. We saw you. Friday, Colin and I are flying up to Milwaukee. Colin's a little more tech head. He's the younger generation, on his phone a lot, screens, all that. But he's really got into 3D printing. So we're going to fly up to Milwaukee and check out a Mimaki 3D printer that actually prints in full color. It's like there's a open house. It's the latest, greatest 3D printing technology that's in the world. And so we're skipping school. So sorry.
Let's go.
And we're going to fly.
He's sick. Sorry.
Yeah. And he's going to be sick. We're going to go check that stuff out. So to me, it's just, sometimes it is annoying to bring the kids along, honestly.
You said it. Thank you.
Yeah. It's easier to go by yourself, but man, looking back on my life, I have a lot of regrets, but one thing I don't regret is just dragging those kids along,
Yep.
And hopefully, and I think it will, I think it'll eventually, I think it'll certainly pay off. But yeah, we're just, Developing now, the bread and butter is self-storage, and developing and owning and managing self-storage. Christopher and his wife Dina have been tremendous friends to me, and also business partners. We said from the beginning we want to be great friends first and business partners second. It's been a great relationship. We complement each other. We kind of did the same thing, them on a much bigger scale than I. It's been fun. And then, so that's segued into like other opportunities. Alex has been involved in about 15 different cabin builds. He's 22, down in the Sevierville area. He signed his first loan at 19 for $356,000 with no cosigner.
Say that again for our listeners.
Yeah, he was 19 years old, and he signed for a construction loan for a cabin for $356,000 at 19 with no cosigner. And people say, "Oh, debt." No, I said, well, it ended up being pretty good debt because he took the money and built a cabin with it, sold it, and made money. But I thought that was cool, and I just wish at 19 I knew that was even remotely possible. But just try to take them along and say, hey, most of the world's going to say, go get a job, put your money in a 401k, put your money in the bank. And then I want to let them know there's a world out there where you go take the money in the bank that other people put in there that have been taught to do that, to no fault of their own. But you go take that money and you use it to create value, right? So I want them to see that, unlike me, until I was 35, I want them to know that there is another path out there, that it takes grit, takes execution, but it's possible. Yeah.
It's awesome. I mean, and I laugh. You said it first. It is a lot to take your kids. And I've struggled even in hunting with this. My daughters haven't showed a ton of interest yet. My oldest just turned 12 a couple days ago. And I wrestle with, like, do I force it? Do I kind of make them go, even if we're not hunting? Do I just make them be around it, or do I let it happen naturally? And I do understand that for them, I spend so much time in the outdoors because it's part of my business that they don't really differentiate between fun and work, with what I'm doing. But it's so rewarding, because what you're talking about building with Alex, I mean, this is literally, and all your kids, this is a dream. This is a dream of mine, and I know a ton of listeners. I have said since day one to my oldest, she's kind of the mini me, and I've said my goal when you're running a business is I want to retire and just go to work for you. Like, that's my goal. I want to go to work for you and, do something together. And I think she doesn't believe me yet. But yeah. I do mean it, I do mean it. The ultimate fulfillment would be being able to teach them a path forward, like we've done. That's not super traditional.
Yeah.
So
the college path too, I mean, my daughter's going to Clemson. I don't want to say college is completely a scam. It's not for everybody. I think it's overvalued in general. Yeah. But for her, she got to move out on her own. She got to, live for herself. She got a transition period. She's having a transition period away. So I think in her case, and then her qualities, she has the grit and execution. I mean, when she gets a little more mature and understands a little bit more about business, like, she has God-given grit and execution. And Katie bar the door when she gets out in the world. I don't know what she might be the first woman president. I'm excited for her, but it's to me, at the end of the day, even through all the frustrations and all the weird feelings and weird times and the fights and the things where you don't get along and all that stuff, at the end of the day, like, if my kids are successful, I will feel successful.
100%. That is the true measuring stick. So let me eat crow. I think Josh and I are saying the same thing, just in different ways. I don't think college in general is a scam. I think what people have been led to believe, that you just go to college, and if you do that and get a degree, you will by default be successful. And I think we will both agree that is not the case.
Yeah, by and large, it's a scam. Yeah, by and large, for sure. But I want my doctor to go to college. I want my dentist to
Yeah, right. But to get a sociology degree, and I'm not downplaying things, but there's a lot of degrees you can get that are not going to serve you super well in today's economy. So, Yeah. Well, all right. I'll, probably lost half my listeners there, but it's okay. It's all good. We're in the beginning stages here, so it's fine.
I told you you'd go down if I came on. So.
Yeah. Josh started it. He elicited the response. No,
Yep.
let's, so there's kind of, to me, like one last thing here we haven't touched on yet that happens to be a mutual passion of ours. We've touched a little bit about hunting and you being, and by the way, if I heard this right, did you say when you were doing the outfitting as a young man, this was in Virginia?
Yeah. So Potts Creek Outfitters, it was unique. It was in Paint Bank, Virginia, but really close to the line. So we were able people to come to Paint Bank and hunt 2 states. We were right on the line. We hunt West Virginia and Virginia. So that was,
I love that.
Cool, like turkey season, and you could come and hunt 2 states. I had one guy that had killed a turkey in all 49 states. There's no turkeys in Alaska. So like it's a thing with the NWTF to kill, a bird in every state. And he hunted with me, and he just lacked his West Virginia bird. And the last day at the last minute, he got his 49 out of 49 turkeys in West Virginia.
Amazing.
So it's cool that, people could come to one spot and hunt 2 states.
Well, and what I think is cool, Josh, and maybe I'm just missing the statistics here, but I don't know of a ton of outfitters in West Virginia or Virginia.
There's not a lot.
So, yeah, it's just not to me a sought after area. Now, everyone, please stay out of the bottom 4 counties of West Virginia. So
Yeah.
it can still continue to be magical, but I thought that was really cool because I knew that you had done some outfitting, but didn't know where. And Chris and I were talking about that this morning and he said he didn't know either where that was. So in your mind, if anyone's been listening, Kansas, Georgia, those could have been our picks in my head first, but it was actually West Virginia and Virginia, which I would argue gives you some real street cred with hunting mountain bucks and, hunting topography. Like so many people are intimidated by.
It's cool to grow up hunting West Virginia, because then you go to Kansas, right? And I'll just say it, like, it's easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Illinois is no Kansas, but when I got out there, I'm like, no wonder there's a consistent wind here. Like, no wonder this is so much easier. It blows where I thought it would blow.
And you can see more than 80 yards too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So hunting has also, let's dive into this before we get into, there's a story we're going to land on that Josh tells me we could take hours, and believe me, we will take our time here, but landing the plane here, hunting has started as a passion and now it's a deeper passion. What has this looked like since your upbringing in West Virginia to what I think I know now that you guys have had the occasion, you and your family, to be on some really, really life-changing hunts, you own some ground in other states. Like what's all this look like now?
So we ended up, a good friend of mine named Steve Analine introduced me to Kansas about 15, 20 years ago. And that was back when Josh loved his life hunting and fishing, and Josh had no money at all. And Steve was kind enough to literally pay for me to go to Kansas, like pay for everything. Thank you, Steve. But the problem was I got addicted to Kansas because it was just so different. You could see forever. It didn't look like there could be a deer anywhere on the landscape. And 30 minutes before dark, deer popped up everywhere. There were giant bucks. It was really an exciting time for me. So fast forward, through some being blessed and some success, we ended up buying a small farm out there. My son shot a 176 the first year we had it.
Alex did. Okay.
Alex
nice.
did. Yeah. So like any good, like any good investor, I sold it and bought it.
I was getting ready to say, the turntables.
Yeah. We shed hunted it too and found, like 28 sheds on a quarter section.
You're not really into sheds though, right?
No, not really.
Yeah.
So it was amazing property. But anyway, sold it. This is back when land was appreciating rapidly, right? And you could get out of that one and get into a bigger one. And so we just kept trading up, and we ended up with a lot of land out there. Crooked River Ranch, 1,715 acres. And I had an amazing, bought a lodge out there. We named it Antler Lodge. And I took my family out there for Thanksgiving. I never thought, when you have young kids and it's the holidays and you're just doing the rat race at Thanksgiving and Christmas, running everywhere in the world to see everybody, and it's exhausting, right? So we were able this last year to actually spend Thanksgiving, just my family, my wife and I, and my 3 kids. We did the rat race thing on Saturday, but for Thanksgiving, we were there in the lodge, and they were kind of, you know, I think they'll look back on it as a good memory, but for me, man, that was just awesome. My son, Alex, guided Riley and Colin. They both killed like 150s with a crossbow. It was just an amazing time for me with those guys. And then, of course, I sold that farm recently. But Antler Lodge is special. Antler Lodge will stick around. We made some great family memories in it. I think I can keep it for a while, right? But anyway, I kind of forgot the question you asked. Sorry.
You're telling it amazingly. I want our listeners and viewers, if you're on YouTube, you just painted a picture, Josh, that I know it's my dream. It is absolutely my dream, and I could cry thinking about what you just painted. I want you to step into this a little deeper. Number one, my wife never listens to my podcast. I'd probably have to pay her to listen to these, but if she were to listen, it is my dream as well. You called it rat race, and I am absolutely the same thing. Sometimes our family holidays for me are just a absolute just circus, and it's not. And everyone knows, I think they know what we're talking about. It doesn't mean we don't love our families. It doesn't mean we don't love tradition. But for me, now I'm a family of 5. Like I have said to myself and my wife, like, Molly, we are a family. We are one now. We are a family. There's always the greater family. There always is. And we love them. But sometimes we're at 5 Thanksgiving dinners and, 6 things and 7 Christmases. And it's like, when can we have one? Like we just have it. And I'm sure the way you framed this, Josh is telling it how it is. It's more of maybe a dream builder for you. But what I heard you say is you guys had Thanksgiving as a small family unit in a place that you've purchased, built, memories, created legacy through, and the lens you just gave me was looking into this lodge, watching your family have Thanksgiving, watching your kids celebrate hunting successes, watching you see the success of your oldest son, helping the others, and your wife Christy sees this. I don't even know, does she hunt at all?
No,
has she ever?
She can outshoot me, but she doesn't hunt. Yeah.
So she's watching this. You're watching this. Tell me, did you ever have a moment where almost like a pinch me moment in that for you, where you step back and say, this is legacy through land? Like this is what I'm, God, thank you. This is what I wanted to create.
Yeah.
Cause that's success. I don't know if you've ever felt it. That's it. That's success.
I feel it right now. At the time, I'm there and it's a big deal for me. And I'm like, man, I'm so glad we came out here and did this. And, my wife's like, well, we could be going to see family and my kids are fighting. And, it's all the things in that moment where it's like, oh, you kind of roll your eyes. But then when you step back in a moment like this and you have time to reflect on it, you never know when you're making a memory. Right. But I reflect on it now and I think, man, if my family was together, will we ever be together again? With my daughter in college and Alex moving to my family was together. We were at Antler Lodge, which has became more special because of some other activities that have taken place out there. So you never know in the moment when you're making a memory, but now we're reflecting back. It's very, very special for me.
For sure, man. The 16-year-old boy, that 16, let's say that even better, that 8-year-old boy that doesn't know how to dream about a family yet has a dream. But that 16-year-old boy, to me, being out, I'll just never forget those moments in like a tree stand and when you're having those thoughts about your life and it's quiet, but it's deafening. God is just in tune with you. I see this vision of this evening and this cabin and this lit cabin with my family frolicking around in there. And there's this just joy and warmth. And you're watching that from the outside. And that was it. You just painted it. And it's just amazing because I think God deposits those dreams into our lives and then he shows us that it can happen if we trust him. Right. And you've said it, grit. He births that in us. I believe it's in everyone. I really do. I believe it's in everyone. It's up to you to accept the call, I think is where people fall short. And I don't mean that the wrong way. I'm just saying Josh will keep telling you, he keeps saying, I'm not that smart. I just work hard. And I say this a lot. I'm really not that smart. I just like to work hard. I like to bet on me. And I think that's a God thing, but man, that's amazing. So we've talked to Kansas. Any other trips or things that come to mind before we jump into there's this thing that kind of amongst all the other things Josh does, there's something that we're going to talk about today that he's a little passionate about, new hobby here, that segues from hunting. I'm not letting any of our listeners or viewers know what it is yet. If you already know, you probably already know. They know. But if you don't, we're going to get into it. But any other hunting like trips or things come to mind when you think of just family memories in the outdoors?
Yes. And my son's birthday, Alex, is September 18th. And I can remember, honestly, every single one of his birthdays, we were hunting somewhere together. Started with hog hunting in Georgia, through hunts in Kansas. Just seems like every year around his birthday, except for this past year, it was like the day before his birthday, and we weren't going to be able to hunt on his birthday. And I was probably shouldn't tell this story because it's yeah. We may busted. we may have to edit this part out. I'll preface that because I don't know. Anyway, so it's the day before his birthday, and a dream of mine, and this is I hate to go here, but I'll go here. We'll see if you want to keep it. But a dream of mine was always to have a jet, a big ranch in Kansas, and a lodge, and cell cameras. And when the time came,
hold on. Hey, everybody, no big deal. All right, these are three simple, small. It's not a big deal, everybody.
That's why I want to,
I love it. I love this.
But that was my dream. And one thing I found out is like, if you don't dream crazy dreams, nothing is likely to happen. But if you dream crazy dreams, like 1 out of 100 of them is going to happen. And this is a crazy dream I had about having a jet and a ranch and a lodge and cell cameras and the bucks coming in and just leaving West Virginia in the morning and hunting that afternoon.
Well, and I want to cover something real quick, Josh. To correct me if I'm wrong here, and I just showed the listeners last week. I talked to Sean Luchtel, and we talked about chasing your dream. In this book by Mark Batterson, it says if your dream doesn't scare you, it's too small. Yeah, I would recommend this for you, Josh. Chase the Line. It's a real easy read or listen. But when we say have a jet, okay, let's just unpack this real quick. You don't mean to have it. I'm assuming you don't mean to have a jet for a huge flex, to be this super cool dude walking out on the runway and having your special moments and your visual aspect. You mean it for a time capsule. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I've heard my whole life about your most valuable resource is your time, and until you get to a point where you I think it's easy to get to, and I think it's easy for people to understand, but there is only so many hours or so many things you want to do to be able to fly. My son's skipping school Friday. We're going to fly to Milwaukee.
He's sick, everyone.
Yeah. My son Colin, unfortunately, is going to have a fever Friday. School fever. So the cool thing is, it's a time saver. So Friday, we're going to fly to Milwaukee. We're going to go to this open house to see these 3D printers, this latest, greatest technology, printing in color in 3D. Amazing. It's a 45-minute flight to close to, I can't remember the town we're flying into. We're going to go, guys will pick us up at the airport, drive 15 minutes. We're going to spend an hour at this open house. We're back on the jet. We're flying home. I'm taking Colin. 4 buddies are coming over to the hangar, and we're flying to Kentucky to muzzleloader hunt on Saturday morning. So, like, how in the world can you go do business, pick up your buddies, go hunting? Kansas is 1,100 miles from my house. We used to drive it. Well, we still drive it some. It's an 18-hour drive. How are you going to leave West Virginia in the morning, fly out there, land, jump in a truck, drive 20 minutes to the lodge, be in a tree stand, from my house in West Virginia to a tree stand in 3.5 hours or less? Just, it's crazy. And you say it is so expensive. I mean, if something breaks on that thing, it's like 20 grand minimum. It is so expensive. But someone asked me one time, they said, hey, I can't remember the number. It was like 10 million bucks. They're like, I'm going to blow this up. But basically, if I was going to hand you $10 million, would you accept it? And someone was like, absolutely, I'd take $10 million. And they'd say, well, there's only one caveat. I'm going to give you 10 million bucks, but you're not going to wake up in the morning. And they're like, absolutely not. I'm not taking $10 million. And they go, so you're saying that your life is worth, your time basically is worth more than $10 million. So time is so valuable when you look at it from that perspective. It is so valuable. And I don't know. It's crazy for me to even be talking about this, owning a jet, flying around and all this stuff. It's crazy, but I dreamed the crazy dream and it happened. So,
dude, I love it so much. And of course, my listeners know this is my way to get onto the jet. I mean, it's a simple thing here. It was a podcast trade, lifetime jet rides, no big deal. It's in the works here. We don't have a contract signed yet, but no, like all jokes aside, when we talked offline, that was the thing that Josh said, this isn't, and by the way, everyone, I figured this out myself. Josh isn't the one that tells me all these things. I figure this out because I have seen the value of time as well. And I told Josh offline, my dad used to be a pilot, probably could be a pilot again. And, I inherited a plane many moons ago, and it was unfortunately too far gone to really efficiently hold on to for a decade while I raised kids. So I donated it to a guy who swears he'll restore it. Point of all this is, I saw as a kid, Josh, my dad had his pilot's license. He would fly me places in this 4-seater plane. And I saw the value of us going to Myrtle Beach in 2 hours from West Virginia. And you couldn't tell me that wasn't going to be something I wanted as well, because there was a time capsule. It was a time machine, buying that time back. And I've had that exact same dream to say, hey, there's a cold front, and I can clear my calendar. And if we get to the hangar, we can be in Illinois or wherever in time enough to hunt this front. But as it's coming across the West, as it's coming across the Midwest, we can chase it east. And dude, that dream is vivid for so many of us that are listening here. I applaud you for having the courage to go find a way to figure it out. That's it. Find a way to chase it. So all right, we've sort of scratched the surface here. We've sort of scratched the surface. There's a thing, and maybe this isn't new for you. It's new to my knowledge of you. There's a thing that you've kind of gotten into through hunting and business, and I don't know if there's other ingredients you would say have baked this cake for you of this new passion of yours, but there's something you're passionate about that I think we should dive into that's going to be a ton of fun. You ready to jump into what excites you most these days when we meet?
Let's do it.
Okay. Everybody strap in. If you're listening from your car, double strap the seatbelt. Your mind is going to be blown. Turn your phone on Do Not Disturb mode unless it's your wife. We're going to get into some stuff. Let's do this. The passion. I don't even know if we can call this your passion project 5.0, whatever passions have come prior to this, but your newest passion. And maybe this isn't new. So, all right. Well, if you guys already know and you've studied Josh, or you've done a little bit of Googling or a little chat GPTing, you might already have it figured out. But for those of you who don't and love a great surprise, well, wait, the title gives it away. Never mind. All right, we're talking about shed antlers and this passion of yours collecting shed antlers. And I guess I was right. You said this has been about a year for you that you've been into it at, I guess, this level. But how did this start, Josh? Back us into how did this start?
So we talked earlier about Antler Lodge, right? It was a dream to get a lodge in Kansas, and I was blessed to close that lodge. And the previous owner, there's a great room, right, with tall ceilings tall 20-foot ceilings, and he had taxidermy all over the walls. So he had killed some amazing deer, 160s to 200-inch deer. He had a couple elk up on the wall. And you walked into this room, it had a really cool aura. Like, it felt like you were going in a private Cabela's or Bass Pro Shops, and it was just amazing. And that feeling, honestly, turned into me purchasing the property, closed on the property, went back to the lodge after we had closed on it, walked in the same room, and all the taxidermy was gone. And the aura was gone. It was bare walls with screw holes in the wall. Like, kind of a wall moment. So I thought to myself, how in the world can I bring the feeling back? I thought, well, we can bring our mounts out here, our taxidermy. That'll fill up that one little corner. what are we going to do with the rest of this wall space? So I thought, man, I've always loved shed antlers, and I'm gonna buy a bunch of shed antlers and decorate in various ways. Hang some. I'll get some barrels and display the big ones, from the side view. I'll hang some of them up, hanging off the brow tine, and we'll call it Antler Lodge, and I'll go buy a bunch of shed antlers. And I was always a guy that was like, I can't see buying somebody else's antler or buying a rack that someone else had killed. Like, that's a little bit weird to me that someone would actually want someone else's antler. But when you really think about it and boil it down, like, the hunter or the finder didn't create that art. Like, God created the art of the antler, right? So that, in my mind, makes it okay to collect, because it has a maker, it has a painter, and it's God, right? Now, the finder or the hunter obviously played a role in the story of that animal, but to me, it's God's art.
It's amazing. I mean, I would say I've looked at it that way from a surface perspective, but probably not deep enough to say, yes, this is something that could be considered a collectible or something that is a trade, or a tangible, what would you call it? A business asset, So that already opens up just kind of a new realm for it. So, of course, I'm guessing in all your time as an outfitter and time spent in Kansas, you've picked up sheds yourself. You had told me when we met that you're probably as passionate about finding sheds as hunting at this point.
Absolutely. Yep.
So how do you start to flirt with, these are a collectible and these have inherent value and those kinds of things? How did that evolve for you?
So really thinking back to what would bring the ultimate experience, walking into that room again, bring that aura back. And I thought to myself, man, the general, like, I grew up the December 1996 issue. I was a freshman in college. North American Whitetail comes out. These giant sheds that were found in Nebraska in 1959 were featured in the North American Whitetail as what would have been, if it would have been killed by a hunter, the world record typical. And just not the sheer size of them, but also the look of how symmetrical they are. There's not a lot of trash on them. They're just beautiful antlers. I was mesmerized by the general. And at that time, you don't really realize in West Virginia that there's not a general out there. Like, when I went hunting, I was looking for that. Like, I didn't know. Yeah. The internet was just coming out. Like, there wasn't trail cameras, and you just didn't know that thing wasn't out there, even though it wasn't. So I thought, if someone walked in here and the general was hanging up on the wall, or if we had a full body mount of the general over in that corner, that feeling would be back times 10. And so that's what motivated me to try to get a hold of, find out who in the world owned the general.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So leading up to the general, had you purchased any type of antler or mount or anything, because in my mind, I paint this picture. Here's the taxidermy that you and your family have. And then let's say there's a timeline, and now you're the owner of the biggest set of antlers in the world. Am I right? So anything in between, or you just went right for the Super Bowl right out of the gate?
Yeah. So when I thought about purchasing the general, I had recently saw Cody Idle on Instagram, and I knew it was the son of Dick Idle, that Cody was the son of Dick Idle. I knew Dick Idle had a lot of history with the general. So I thought, man, if anybody would know where one would go buy the general, Cody would know. So I reached out to him on social media, which eventually led to a phone conversation. And my son, Alex, and I are driving out to Kansas for a muzzleloader hunt. We're taking a truck out there to leave it. And I get a hold of Cody, have a great conversation. He tells me about a guy named Mike Sharuis, who's known as the Antler Collector, Father Antler, as we call him. And lo and behold, I was like an hour away from where Mike lived. As we were driving out there, he's close to Manhattan, Kansas. So we just stopped, spent the night, and we had the next morning we're meeting Mike Sharuis, who brings the Minnesota Monarch sheds, the number one non-typical in the world by far. And 10 seconds into my shed collecting journey, I'm holding the Minnesota Monarchs. And when I held those antlers, at the time, I didn't really know what I was holding or how special they were. But I remember thinking, I will never, ever in my life come close to finding antlers anywhere like that, anywhere close to these. So if I want big antlers, I'm going to have to buy them. Right.
That's unbelievable. So I'm guessing, obviously, with your story, you derailed, you guys diverted your trip in Kansas and made it work to meet him on that trip. I'm assuming, like, this is all out of the blue.
Totally
20 minutes notice.
Yeah, things like that happen a lot to me. Squirrel.
Well, and it's comfortable to say out of the blue, but I think it doesn't give God enough credit.
Yeah.
So,
no, I think
out of the blue for us.
A reason. Yeah. Yep.
So it sounds like and we're gonna pop up the hood to the entire story for the general here if Josh can tell the whole thing, but it sounds like, if I have this right, leading up to the general, had you bought any other antlers prior to him?
Yeah, I had. So that conversation with Mike and seeing those sheds and then thinking about what to do with Antler Lodge. Yeah, I did go on a spree and bought, not overly big antlers, but I bought enough antlers that I could start decorating Antler Lodge. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, sure. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I met with Josh in person a couple of weeks ago, we were looking at some Ohio dirt. Someone told him there was big deer in Ohio, and I've there's no big deer in Ohio, Josh. It's total myth. But, he brings this set of antlers in his car. I didn't know this, of course, and then is kind enough to let me hold them. I can't even describe it. Obviously, the nervousness was so high that I first asked him, can you insure something like this? Like, is there insurance on this? Because I am not touching these without knowing what's going on here. But let's dive into the acquisition of the General. And I'm just going to shut up and listen and let you tell us how this has gone, because I am on the edge of my seat. I have not heard this story, everyone. Haven't heard it. So you're going to get to hear it for the first time with me as well.
So the call with Cody that led to the introduction to Mike also led to me expressing to Cody the fact that I want to buy the General. And Cody's a very diplomatic, super nice, down-to-earth guy. And he told me in some very, very nice way, like, Josh, I know you're not an antler collector, but you just don't go buy the General. Like, that's not a thing. Just don't swipe your card and have it delivered. Like, it doesn't work that way. I was like, oh, okay. Well, how does it work? Like, he's like, it probably doesn't work. So I said, okay, I was just curious, we can do it. We can decorate the lodge with other things. So I kind of planted that seed in Cody. We kind of went, we went on the muzzleloader hunt. We kind of went separate ways. And I'm on this, fast forward to January, I'm in Hawaii with my family. We belong to a group called Legacy Wealth Holdings. And there's events like mastermind events. And
Tim Bratz.
Tim Bratz, yep. They're great about, being family oriented. So a lot of these events, they encourage people to bring their family, which I think is awesome. And so we're in Hawaii. I've got me and my three kids. My wife didn't go for some reason, but it's me and my three kids in Hawaii. And I get a call. Actually, I got back up to the room about 10:30 p.m. Hawaii time. And I had a message from Cody. This is in January. A message from Cody that basically said, hey, since we last talked in September, our conversation prompted me to reach out to Keith Snyder, who's the actual owner of the General. And basically over the past couple of months, I've created a relationship with Keith. We've had several long phone conversations. And now I'm happy to report to you that Keith wants to sell the General for various reasons. And I've positioned myself to be the exclusive broker of the General. And on top of all that, because you're the guy that prompted me to do this, Keith and I agree that you are going to have the first opportunity before I take this thing, like, not public, but take it to some other people. We're going to give you the first opportunity to buy the General. He's like, the bad news is the purchase price is $1 million, and he's not coming off of it. So I'm like, I knew immediately I was going to buy it. I just had to figure out how.
So what? Let me make sure I'm understanding this though, because what you just said, I thought this was you telling this to Cody.
No, this is Cody. Cody calls me and leaves Cody calls me and leaves a voicemail on my phone.
Okay.
So at 10:30 at night. Yeah, I didn't tell that right. So 10:30 at night, I get back up to my room. I have a message from Cody. And the voicemail is basically, hey, since we talked in September, it's now January, but since we talked in September, I've created a relationship with Keith Snyder. And through many phone conversations, I positioned myself to be the exclusive broker of the General. And Keith and I both agreed that we think you, because you're the one that started this mess, prompted this conversation that resulted in me being the exclusive broker of the General. We want you to have the first shot at the General. We're not going to take it. I'm not going to take it to anybody else until you say yes or no. But the purchase price is a stiff $1 million. So
and he's not coming off of it. Yeah. There's that part.
Take it or leave it. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to buy it. I've got it. How in the world does someone end up in the pole position to buy the greatest deer of all time? If I had not executed upon that opportunity, I would have regretted it the entire rest of my life, for sure. So I knew I was going to buy it. I just had to figure out how to get $1 million, right? I didn't have $1 million, but I was going to figure out how to get $1 million quickly.
Grit.
Yeah, like there's just one thing keeping me from buying this deer.
Yeah, minor hang up.
Just a detail, right?
Just a formality.
So anyway, then I'm like, I showed some interest, and then I went up and saw the deer. And Keith he's a great guy. Keith is a salesman. Like I came in and it was all set up. He's like, hey, sit right here, focus on me. We're gonna have a conversation at the right time. We're gonna pull the blanket off. I want you to turn around. The angels are gonna sing. And
Train is here playing in the background.
Yeah,
and Aerosmith.
I'm pretty sure I heard angels singing. So anyway, so he went. He did it right, and I turned around and I looked at the deer, and that was just, I had to figure out how to make this thing happen. So
love at second sight after Christie, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. So anyway, so I transacted. We signed the deal on my birthday, March 26th, 2025. So it was crazy. Like I thought, man, I am legitimately crazy. Because nobody's ever paid anywhere close to that for 2 deer antlers.
Well, and I think that's going to sound absolutely insane to everyone listening here, unless you're like me, that's like ready to bust your windshield out. Because when I hear other people's belief building stories, it just makes me want to go buy a skyscraper just because I just want to do, So let's back up a second, Josh, because we really can't, to me, I still can't, and don't take this the wrong way, can't quantify the value of those antlers until I know the story, right? I mean, it's a giant deer. I've held these antlers, giant deer, and that's like incredibly underscoring this, pun intended. So the thing that you said though, that I want to talk about really quick before we go way back to who is the General, right? And this is where I know Josh's passionate juices are going to come out, because he knows who the General is. But you said something that I think most people would get hung up with, which is, all right, so you euphorically, you went out, found out who owned the General. You meet, you talk to Cody Idle. He tells you, you kind of, all right, well, now Cody goes and puts this conversation together. Imagine what most of us would have been like when Cody leaves you the voicemail and he's like, hey, quick mill, and, we're going to give you the first crack. How many of 100 guys, how many would be like, that's such a dream, and that'd be so cool. I could just never do it. You know what I mean? And then it's over.
Oh, most people, yeah, for sure.
Like 99.
Yeah. And if I thought normally, I definitely would have not even considered.
Guilty. Yeah. And guilty. I I just want to, point that out here, that none of the story that we're about to get to hear of who is the general and what does Josh know about the general and why is the general valuable, right? Because the value obviously it's just like anything else. What is someone willing to pay for it? Well, the story is why it's valuable to me. I mean, other than the fact that it is what it is, I cannot get past like how many guys would have been like, gosh, that'd be so cool, man. Like if only, man. It reminds, it's like on Dumb and Dumber, and they're like, we need some guys to lather us up for this competition. They're like, there is a town 6 miles that way, and if you just go there, you'll find the right. It's like, no, dude, it was you. It's you. Like, are you going to do it or not? And so many guys just wouldn't have figured it out. So enough about, because I'm sure there's a podcast in itself about how you figured it out, but you figured it out, made it happen. Who in the world's the general? Who is this? If we're all like, it sounds really cool, but who is the general?
Like the story of the deer.
Yep. Start from wherever you want to start.
Yeah. So go back to central Nebraska, 1958 in Custer County. Custer County and a couple surrounding counties are having, this is 1958. This is the year that General grew the world record antlers. In 58, also in 58, it was the first time that there was an actual deer hunting season in Custer County. So think of an era where there's a lot of farm ground. It's cows, alfalfa, and corn. Brushy fence rows, tons of pheasants and quail. All the outdoor Nebraska magazines back in that day were focused on, upland birds, quail and pheasants. Deer were like kind of coming onto the scene. They were growing in population. They were starting to eat a lot of the crops that the farmers had. They were probably not respected as much back then as they are now because they were new and annoying, eating the crops. But in Outdoor Nebraska magazine, they wrote about the trophy potential in Custer County and the surrounding counties. It was like Central Unit number 7. They wrote in Outdoor Nebraska about the trophy potential because trophy hunters would have an opportunity to hunt an unshot herd. These deer have never been hunted before. They had plenty of everything they needed. And we talk about eras when we talk about big deer, certain areas and certain eras. Like this was the time for Nebraska to have giants, right? Ben Barnhart talks about 2 other bucks that ran around with the general that he saw with his own eyes that were similar in size, right? So we're in like the mega era of Nebraska. So he finds them in the spring of 59. He's out looking for a lost calf, runs across. One of the antlers is actually hanging in a willow bush. It's a hanger, which if you're a shed hunter, it's kind of a big deal to find a hanger because there's not many of them. So one's hanging in a willow bush, one's laying nearby. He picks them up. He thought, well, looks like a big rack. Again, deer aren't respected. It's not out there that, the record book and all this stuff. And 59 is not near a thing like it is now. So he throws them in a truck, takes them back, puts them in the barn. They stay in the barn until the mid-70s when maybe they're learning more about how special they really are. The Barnhart family decides for Christmas they want to give Ben the gift of having his antlers mounted on a plaque. So they take, unbeknownst to Ben, they take the antlers down to Broken Bow where they have a guy mount them on a plaque. And they give it to Ben for Christmas about 1975. And that's when it hangs up on the wall for 20 years, from 75 until 95. When a guy named Tim Condick comes along and had heard rumors, he was an outfitter in the area. And I think the rumor he heard was, man, you need to go see Ben Barnhart. So there's bigger antlers in there than at any of those Cabela stores. And, I'm sure Tim's like, oh, yeah, I'm sure. And the story is he walked into the room and he looked around and saw a few smaller deer, and he felt a little bit foolish for chasing this lead. And Ben goes, what do you think? And Tim's just kind of looking around. And he goes, look up. And Tim looks up above him, and he could just see those 32-inch main beams crawling around. And he was like, and he instantly knew that he was on to something special. Yep.
So what's that guy's name? Tim what?
Tim Condict, Condict. Tim Condict.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Tim Condict was who had them, if I got this story right, to 75? Or no, in 75 to 95.
Yeah, so Ben Barnhart owned them since when he found them until 1995. It was about 75 when his family put him on a plaque for him, and he hung on Ben Barnhart's wall for 20 years from 75 to 95 until Tim comes a knocking. Yeah.
So, and Ben was not, was Ben who actually picked him up, or would have been a relative of his?
Ben is the finder, Ben Barnhart.
Okay. Wow. So how, if you know, how old would Ben have been then at the time they were picked up?
So we could do some math.
Was he like the farm owner? He was an adult at this point, or young man?
Yeah. So Ben, interesting guy. He was a World War II veteran and a sailor, right? And then so he grew up on the family farm, went off to the war, was a sailor, patriotic guy, successful, came back and ran the family farm. So unfortunately, Ben passed away in 2018. Okay. So we could do some math and figure out how old Ben would have been in 95, but he was in, senior years.
Okay. Yeah. Got you.
The pictures you see of him holding the general with the stickers that we'll get into in a little bit. He was an older gentleman at that time in 95. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it would be interesting to just kind of know, for even you and I's sake, did 22-year-old Alex Ben find these, or did 35-year-old Josh, I'm just in our head, to me, like if you're 19 finding those compared to even, and maybe it doesn't matter because like you said, they weren't glorifying deer or really, let's call it objectifying antlers at that point.
Yeah.
For lack of a better way to say it. I don't know. I just find that interesting. What age was he when he first picked him up?
Quick math on my head, I'm going to say mid-30s, but we can get to the real number. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 30. So then in 95, he sells them.
Yep. He sells them to a guy named Brad Zell, but Tim was sort of the broker. We'll call Tim the broker of the deal, right?
Yeah.
Brad was the collector, the money guy. Tim had the local knowledge and tracked the lead down and was basically brokering the deal for Brad Zell. Yep.
Do you know what Brad paid?
I do. I think it was $3,000. Don't hold me to that, but I think it was
that was what I was getting at. That was like probably a smidge less than Josh.
Yeah, a little bit less. I think it was $3,000. Was it? I don't remember. I heard that Ben Barnhart went and bought a truck with the money. I could be wrong on the $3,000. I'll look into that. I should have known that.
I just think that's cool too. Just obviously getting up to where we're at. I mean, this is, how does a collectible have inherent value? I mean, I think of this conversation even just as like a car, knowing the guy that first bought it, what he paid, and then when he sold it, what they paid, and just kind of how the story goes. So say the name again. Tim was technically what we would say is the broker. He was the finder. He was the wholesaler, the deal jockey. Yep. Who's the guy that bought him again?
Brad Zell.
Brad Zell. So Brad bought those in 95.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now I'm shutting up. What happens next?
All right. Well, let's go back to, let's fast forward for a minute. So I'll tell you an important part of the story. I purchased them on my birthday, March 26, 2025. Crazy chain of events since then. Let's back up to like March the 8th, call it 18 days before I bought them.
Okay.
At the Iowa Deer Classic, which I happened to be at for the first time in my life. I randomly went to the Iowa Deer Classic. And they had the North American Shed Hunters Club has an amazing exhibit set up with tons of giant shed antlers. And they also offer up for people to bring their antlers in and have them scored and entered into their record book. And there's a contest, right, to see who's got the biggest shed. Now, there's all kinds of different categories. Really cool deal. And an antler, a lady brings in 2 antlers, and one of which Shane Endebro with the North American Shed Hunters Club immediately recognizes as an antler from the general. This is a 60-plus-year-old antler, single antler. That is a later antler from the general. So this of itself is earth-shattering news that a 60-plus-year-old antler from the general has surfaced, right? That prompted a conversation between Shane and Ryan. Shane mentioned the city Sargent, Nebraska, as a town nearby where the general was found. And Ryan Pellercells goes, oh, well, I have a set of antlers that were found in 1964 that were found near Sargent, Nebraska. And Shane's like, no way. There's no way. He's like, when you get home, video those things and send me the video. So Ryan does. He goes home, videos the antler, sends it to Shane. Shane falls on the floor. He cannot believe the fact that not one, not two, but 3 antlers from the general, because of the Iowa Deer Classic, have surfaced. Like that's beyond, like, the chances of that is probably like hitting the lottery 2 weeks in a row, right? Like, that's crazy. Well, that's March the 8th, and then, you know, I don't know when the video was sent, but let's call it March the 10th or 12th or whatever, and then March the 26th, it sells for $1 million. Now, hold on to your hat. There's more to come. That's bigger news than everything I've just told you. Bigger than the $1 million purchase price. Bigger than 3 antlers popping up off the general that are 60-plus-year-old antlers. 40 days after I do the math, March 26th plus 40 days exactly, a guy named Bill Sainer posts online on the Antler Collectors page a picture of Ben Barnhart holding the general that was taken just prior to Tim Condick purchasing it. And the general on its right G2 and left G3 has 2 sticker points, which doesn't seem like a big deal. But when you're in the world of collecting and scoring, any manipulated rack cannot be in the record book. So in effect, 40 days after the general's bought for $1 million, it gets kicked out of the record book.
Whoa. Grit, huh? Okay. Let's go. Now what?
Yeah, right. Now what? Awkward conversation between Cody and I. Hey, Cody, yeah, you know that set of antlers you just brokered for $1 million? Yeah, they're, from a collector standpoint, they're worthless now.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? What would you do? Honestly, what would you do, Tyler? What would the listeners do?
Not knowing enough, I'd be calling my insurance agent to say, I'd like you to read the deck page and send that to my attorney. What coverage amounts do I have here? And do we have defense coverage? Probably a lawsuit filed.
Yeah. All those thoughts and more. You know, you feel defrauded. You lose confidence in man quickly. Like, how could this happen? This thing, you got to remember, like, this thing was the world record. It was officially scored, I think, in 98. So we're talking almost 30 years. This thing is the official world record set of shed antlers, like official. They're widely known and accepted for 28 years, 27 years, almost 30 years. Like, there was about 3 days of, like, you know, the thing that bothered me the most, I think, was, like, because when I bought them, my wife did come to me and say, like, are you okay? Like, is this, this is a little bit, like, I know you're crazy. This is, like, even crazy for you. And then when the sticker pictures came out, she's like, I knew this was going to happen.
Oh, dude, mine is so quick to say that too. Gosh, we're not putting them to dinner. We'll get schemed on.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So all the thoughts, all the things, all the feelings. Now I'm, like, in a really weird predicament of, like, what in the world do we do?
And let me make sure I'm tying this correctly here.
Yep.
40 days after you bought, which would have been whatever, April or early May or whatever.
It was early May. Yeah. Yeah.
So did Does this have to do, because the way you're telling this story, does this have to do with the information about this third antler that comes out through the Iowa Deer Classic, and then that surfaces some, backlogging, or like, how does this even come to light that if I'm hearing you right, a picture emerges that is from back in 58 or
95.
Back in 95. Okay. Sorry. So a picture emerges of the antlers from back in 95 that I'm assuming hadn't emerged or hadn't surfaced prior to May of 2025.
Yep. So you're exactly right. That set of antlers that was discovered at the Iowa Deer Classic that Ryan and Shane had a conversation about. I was successful in purchasing those from Ryan. And then my good friend Mike Sharuis, who got me into this whole mess, right? He's the guy the genesis of my collecting. He had actually posted, he runs a big Facebook page. And my goal when I bought these things was I wanted to share the deer, but I wanted to make it about the deer. I didn't really want to talk about Josh Duncan. So I had Mike post the crazy story about these antlers coming out about the general on his Antler Collector Facebook page. And then that got some attention in the deer world, and people were posting, well, this guy, Bill Sainer, he knows deer, he lives in Nebraska, but he's not like super clued in on official scoring and what the stickers could mean and all that stuff. He just saw that it was a cool thing, that it was news for Sergeant Nebraska. And he remembered that Ben Barnhart's family had given him some pictures of the deer right before they sold it. So in his mind, he's just like, hey, this is a cool story. Here's a picture of Ben holding the deer right before he sold it. I mean, not even thinking that it could be.
Yeah, he wasn't even trying to highlight anything.
Not at all. I mean, not at all. It's like no big deal. The general was a little bit bigger. He didn't even know about it. Didn't even care. Like, just posted them up. And then, oof.
Wow. So in 95, again, the Tim guy kind of brokered it, but what's the guy's name that bought him in 95?
Brad Zell.
Brad Zell.
Yes, G-S-E-L-L, but I think it's pronounced Zell.
We have a Ben and a Brad, so I'm trying to keep all this correct. Ben, a Brad, a Tim.
Brad, Tim. Yeah, there's a few of those around. Yeah.
Yeah, so Brad owns, he has them in 95. Now, I'm going to assume that there's also a trajectory of owners between 95 and 2018 that leads to Keith.
Yep.
Right? So, am I assuming correctly, Josh? And we can go through these owners next, or I want you to tell the story chronologically, however it works for you. But I'm assuming some of these guys would have been defrauded too, all through the chain.
Yeah.
Or would they have had knowledge of any of this?
Yeah. So I guess, from one standpoint, if nobody knew about the stickers, so, they bought them and sold them and life went on and nobody knew that somebody eventually is going to get be the owner when the pictures come out, right? That's this guy.
And maybe now's a good time. Josh, do you happen to have these antlers around?
I do. Yes, sir.
Could we see them?
Absolutely.
If you're on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and pause that puppy and head over to YouTube.
Yeah, this is the right antler. It's just absolutely beautiful. The craziest thing about this deer is the main beams. You can see from this angle how they actually wrap around in a U shape, which makes them extremely, extremely long. They're over, this one's 32 7/8 inches. On top of a 32-inch beam, the crazy part about it is the C3 and C4 mass measurements are both over 7 inches. So you just got a massive, mega main beam, and then throw onto that just the beautiful matching tines. This is just an amazing antler. It does have an extra off the brow here. And then where the sticker point was on this side,
I was going to ask you to,
was actually shaved off right here.
and honestly, just, for everyone, if you're still just listening, go over to YouTube and check this out. But when Josh shared that with me, when I was holding these antlers in person, I mean, they did an incredible job of taking those off. So yeah, here we go Yeah. Give those weights again. You have the weights of each side.
Yeah, so each side weighs 4 pounds.
4 pounds. You've never held an antler, folks. If you're listening, watching, you've never held an antler this heavy, unless you're like 1% of these listeners. It's insane.
This is where the G3 on the left side. This is where the small sticker was shaved off. It was about an inch and 7/8 long here.
But look at the blading. I mean, so we got to dive into that on how that happened, because we're, at some point we're talking between 58 and 95, right? That this happened. I mean, I don't think the sophistication of, and maybe I'm just wrong and too naive here, but the sophistication of deer collecting, antler collecting, I wouldn't think is nearly evolved enough to need to have somebody be a shapeshifter to antlers at that point and do it right. I mean, is it a good time to go into how did this happen? Do you know?
I do.
How it happened?
I do. Yeah.
Chronologically, Josh, don't let me mess you up. I'm just curious.
Oh, we're trucking right along here.
All right.
I mean, the big question is who did it, right? That's the big question. Who shaved them off? And the answer is, I do not know. It's easy to point the finger at Tim Condict. We have pictures of Ben Barnhart holding them right before the sale with the stickers on. The next time we see the deer, so that was in March of 95, the deer had the stickers. The next time we see the deer is in December of 96 in North American Whitetail Magazine with no stickers. Tim was definitely involved in that era. Tim, who I've talked to on the phone multiple times, and I said, look, Tim, it's not like from a legal standpoint, I've gotten over the fact that they were shaved off. I'm not coming after anybody from a legal sense of like, hey, I bought them for $1 million. Presumably they were perfectly natural. Now they've been manipulated. Like I'll sign anything away. I'm not coming after you. Like, but did you do it? And he'll die on the hill that when he bought them, they were already gone. So the interesting part of this is I do know for sure that Tim Condict sent a letter to Tom Sexton. Tom Sexton is a guy that is very well known and very respected in the antler world from a standpoint of replicas and repair and painting. Tom can make an antler look more than real. Like, he is amazing. So Tim sent the antlers in the mail to Tom Sexton along with a letter. I have a copy of the letter. It's on the Facebook page called The General. The letter's actually on there. And Tim mentions some repairs that need to be done. On one of these antlers, I think it's I think it's this G3 right here on the right. This is the G2. This is where the sticker was shaved off. On this antler right here, there was a giant chew in this area that Tim wanted Tom to fix as well. So in the letter, it states, if please fix the chew on the G3. And then he refers to where the stickers were as chews also. So those look like chewed spots, and he asked Tom to professionally, repair those. Yep. So whoever shaved them off in a fashion where they were still rough but looked like chews. And then, so in Tom's mind, he's just fixing chews, and he puts them back into the shape they're in today. That's how we end up with the antlers today that no human could ever tell that the stickers were gone. Yeah, Tom is that good.
So Ben, backing up here, Ben Barnhart, did Ben Barnhart, to your knowledge, know Tom Sexton?
Ben Barnhart probably never knew Tom Sexton, I would imagine. No. Tom would have been Tim's connection. Yeah, for sure.
And has Tom, this is fun, man. We're doing like cold case files here. Like we're getting into some stuff here. We're going to solve this right here.
Make a movie about this story?
I think you should make a Netflix series about this. I would definitely watch it. Because, especially if we got, Brennan Dassey and we got Tiger King. I think this is right. This could be right up there with something you'll never financially recover from. So I think it's a great segue. Real talk though, man, now I'm interested. So Tom Sexton, have you talked to Tom Sexton yourself?
Yes. Yep.
And Tom would tell you, and I'm guessing, did he tell you that these look like chews to me?
So I did ask that question to Tom, and he did not really indicate at all. Tom
I mean,
is
because
very,
me and you, I don't get that, Josh. I mean, I'm not amazing, but I don't know that I would look at something that was ground off, sanded off, sawed off, however you want to off it. We know what chews look like. I mean, I've seen chewed antlers. I mean, I don't know that I would have, unless someone did it in a fashion to make it look like chews. If I'm antler body repair guy, whatever you call this, I think I'd be able to pick that out. I'd have some questions there for sure.
That's a great point. How do you make sure that Tom,
doesn't pick up on it?
Yeah, like Tom is an antler expert. Like
That's what I mean. You hire him as an expert witness. Yeah, if you're on trial and you're going to go to trial, you're going to call up Tom Sexton to the stand as an expert witness. And you're saying, and you are saying, you're saying that Tom Sexton has said he didn't recognize this any differently than chews.
Yeah. So if I wanted to fool Tom Sexton, I'll tell you how I would do it. I'd cut him off and I'd get some peanut butter and I'd rub it on him and I'd put it in a cage with some mice and let him eat all the peanut butter. That's what I'd do if I were, wanting to fool somebody. I mean, I have no idea. We don't. I wish we had pictures. It would be cool to have pictures of what they look like when Tom got them. And Tom does have some pictures, but it's of the chewed G3 area.
Man.
Yeah, it would be cool to see what they look like when Tom.
This is so awesome though, because I've already heard I've already read sidearm comments that are attacking the general. And this sawed off, stickers and all this stuff, the armchair quarterbacks on Facebook. But This is really good because you're pointing to an unknowingness that sits today, apparently, an unknowingness to this chapter.
We do not know and may never know.
Oh my goodness. All right. So 95 to 2018, and maybe this isn't relevant so much, but there's been a handful of owners. I remember you saying, so what's the timeline look like from 95 to 2018?
Okay. So a couple and back to the Netflix tease, like I did hire a producer. We are going to make a movie, a documentary about the general. There's some really, really crazy stuff that we're trying to fact check to make sure that's right. I'll tease it a little bit. I do not know for sure if it's true, but there's the federal wildlife officers were called in to Tim Condic's house to investigate the general based upon rumors that supposedly another game warden started. We're check-facting that. So the other rumor that we're looking into is that it was illegal to even pick up shed antlers in Nebraska in 1959. And that this next chain of title that I'm going to tell you about, where Dick Idle gets involved and brokers the antlers from Brad Zell to Cabela's, that the rumor is that they didn't want to transact because it was known that they were illegal to be owned. And so Cabela's wasn't about to touch it because it was illegal to have shed antlers that were picked up in Nebraska. So the rumor is somebody called the governor of Nebraska and got the law changed to make it legal to pick up shed antlers in Nebraska. So the general has been involved potentially in a wildlife raid with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and the general potentially changed the law. So we're digging into that to fact check that. I do not know that to be certain, but I know enough to say it, right? That something along those lines has happened with the general. So amazing story. So now Cabela's contacts Dick Idle. Says, Dick, we really want to put an amazing, 10 times life-size statue of a typical and non-typical deer, bronze statue in front of our Owatonna, Minnesota store. And we really like the general and we really like the Francis Fink buck, but we don't own them. Can you help us go buy them? And on top of that, can you make this sculpture, I've heard, for $2.2 million. I don't know if that's right. So Dick's like, yep, I'm in the antler world. I'm an artist. I'd be glad to do that. So he gets a hold of Brad Zell, and the short of it is, through some back and forth, they make a deal for $63,000. The general is sold to Cabela's from Brad Zell.
I was getting ready to say, I thought I missed this point, but you just covered it. All right. So Brad Zell owned it until when? owned them until when?
So I don't know the exact time frame here.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know when that transacted. I want to say like 99, 2000, between 99 and 2001, somewhere in there. But I for sure.
Okay.
Around 2000. Let's say around 2000. So now Cabela's owns them. Now Dick Idle has been commissioned to make a bronze statue of the general, right? So that works out well. Interesting side note, when Johnny Morris, who owns Bass Pro Shops, saw that Cabela's had some deer statues, he then commissioned Dick Idle to make one bigger.
Well, and let me back up 1 second here just to make sure I have clarity. Brad Zell claims the kickers were shaved off and all that was done when he got them from Ben Barnhart.
Tim Condick says that. Yeah, Brad Zell unfortunately passed away as well. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Tim Condick says that when he got them from Ben Barnhart,
yes,
they were already gone.
They were gone. He got them in the same shape that when he sent them to Tom Sexton.
But he writes the letter to Tom Sexton asking for the other area with the chews to be cleaned up, and then these other chews that he.
That's right.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Yep. No, that's exactly right.
All right. Because I wanted to make sure that when Brad Zell buys them, they're already shaved off, cleaned up. They're what you have today.
Yeah. And Brad likely didn't even see them. I mean, I don't know for sure, but likely Tim's handling all this stuff. And I know Tim kept them in his possession for a while. So I don't know how much Brad was involved in physically having them in his possession. Yeah.
Because he just brokered that deal for Cabela's.
Well, Brad bought him from Ben Barnhart, was brokered by Tim. Now Dick Idle wants to broker a sale between Brad Zell and Cabela's.
Got it. Yep. We might have to go to PowerPoint here.
Yeah.
Almost like on the History Channel and start having names pop up. Yeah. I promise I'm not stupid. I'm trying.
No, I'm not very good at explaining it. No, for sure.
No, it's good. What I was trying to nail down, which it's clearer now, but it's trying to nail down, obviously owners past a certain part in the timeline would have had no knowledge of any repairs to the antlers unless someone previous to them told them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So now now Cabela's buys the antlers. They make a really cool. They put them on a full body deer, along with the Francis Fink buck in their store in the same position that the bronze statue outside is in, right? You can look up pictures of what it looked like. It's a really beautiful an amazing statue in front of that store. You can look it up. It's still there today.
This is at what location again?
Owatonna, Minnesota.
Okay.
The town name is Owatonna. Yeah.
Owatonna, Minnesota, and the mount that they build, I am assuming, I need clarity here, is this with the original antlers or this is a replica set?
So the bronze statue is obviously made of bronze, and then inside the store where they have the deer in the same position as the statue,
yep,
those are these exact antlers right here.
Okay. All right. Because I knew kind of this replica thing with Cabela's and, a lot of these mounts in the stores and things were replicas. I didn't know if that era was when that was happening. So these were the original antlers on that mounted deer inside the store.
Absolutely. Yep.
Wow. And Josh, only because I've held these, tell me, am I assuming that the actual, we were talking about the actual screw marks in the base. Mm-hmm. Is that Barnhart era or when would that have been?
Yeah. So over time, these things have been on various mounts, and they've been repaired and on various mounts. So we've actually ended up with 3 separate holes in the bottom of each antler. And that's just because every owner had their own thought of like what the spread, because if they're sheds, you don't know what the spread is, right?
Yep.
So one guy likes this, one guy likes this, another guy likes this. So that's why we ended up with different mounts and different holes in the bottom.
But you don't actually know which are which.
No.
Okay.
No.
I just, obviously you wonder, of course, one of them's likely the Cabela's, that era, and likely Barnhart. You knew they were on a plaque. I mean, at least they didn't drill through the base and put them, sideways and put them up like we would.
Interesting part of the story, now that you bring that up, is the fact that whenever they took them down to Broken Bow to be mounted on the board, and I actually have pictures of this. The guy took the back part of the base back here and just cut it off so it would fit flat against the board. Yeah.
Wow.
So these things are, I don't want to say heavily repaired, because the size of them has not changed other than the stickers being removed.
Right.
But as far as the base and there's chew marks, like there's some minor repairs on these antlers. Yeah.
So let's keep going here. Cabela's, this time frame's not really known, or is it, with Cabela's, and when they have them? So
Cabela's owns them until 2018. And let me take you back to a time when a company called Bass Pro Shops was interested in buying Cabela's for $5.5 billion. Included in the sale would be the Owatonna, Minnesota store, statue, and shed antlers of the General. So actually,
and that's actually in a, if you know, that's actually like in a line item for like the LOI, if you will,
I would guess, yeah. I would guess that I would guess that it may not say specifically the General, but I would guess it would say like taxidermy, racks, heads.
Yeah.
Because that's a big part of these stores is they put all this
inventory
for an experience. That'd be interesting to look up to see if they specifically mention in the transaction. I don't know if you could find if that's public or not.
I doubt I have a good enough help, but I am friends with the store manager of the Charleston, West Virginia location. Good friends, and he's been on the podcast, Neil Depew. But I don't know if Neil would have a connection high enough up to figure that out. Carry on. That's really cool, though. That is cool. Yeah, because that makes sense. I mean, and we talked about on the podcast the acquisition of Cabela's and how it's all going to turn into Bass Pro and all that.
Yep. So that happened in 2018. Keith Snyder, great guy, super savvy, street smart guy, collector. I was friends with a guy named Jerry Martin, and I'll just say I don't know the specifics of this deal, but I want to find out the specifics and I want to include them in our movie. But I call it the impossible deal. How do you buy the General from a company that owns a couple $1 million statue of the deer in front of one of their stores? Like, how does that happen? And the only thing that I can tell you is that Keith is a savvy guy, and Jerry Martin that he bought them from was super busy in a giant $1 billion transaction. And honestly, from what I can tell, everything was above grade on the table. And you could literally just say that maybe they slipped out of Bass Pro's hands because they were focused on something much bigger than the General, which was a multi-billion-dollar purchase, right?
Of Cabela's.
So let's just say in that excitement / confusion / giant transaction that some things got overlooked.
And now you're the lucky recipient of such hemorrhaging.
So now fast forward to the call that I got of like, hey, you're in the pole position to buy the General.
Well, and also, when do you think Keith got them? Because I want to maybe rest there. How long did Keith own them?
Keith bought them in 2018.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Yeah. I'm doing my best to keep all this together. But so he owned them in 2018. And then Cody Idle, help me tie in Cody Idle and Dick Idle again here. Because they were your first call, right? Cody was.
Yep. Yeah. So Dick has a tremendous history with the General. When I talked to him recently, he said, I could have owned these antlers. Like, he made it a point to say, like, I could have, because he was a collector and he had amazing heads. And he didn't say it, but he kind of insinuated, like, I could have owned these, but I had bigger fish to fry making giant statues of the deer, right? Yeah. So could you own the antlers or, get your work out there known to the world and make a bronze statue? Like, he had bigger fish to fry. And then that was my point about, when he got that one done for Cabela's, that led to Johnny Morris with Bass Pro Shops looking at those statues and how beautiful they were and how great of a job Cabela's and Dick did. And Johnny going, those are great, but I got to have one bigger. Dick, let's go. So Dick not keeping the General's antlers led to a lot of cool stuff for Dick Idle.
Nice. Okay.
Yep. So, and then the crazy thing is, like, Dick had all that history with the General, with making the statues and writing about it 3 times in North American Whitetail. And now his son Cody gets to be the guy that brokers the deal for the biggest sale known in the antler world of $1 million. So the Idle family is just like wrapped around in this history of these antlers. And
do you know what Keith paid for them? That would give us our full trade, I guess.
He paid $4.
Okay.
Three state records and a 250-inch non-typical.
Aha! It was a horse trade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's probably obviously
he paid $4 for the General. So.
And that's going to be the top line of the Netflix documentary.
Yeah. $4 to $1 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
In 7 years. Pretty good returns. Yeah.
So, all right, let's, this is incredibly fun here, but let's break that down. Keith is a collector. Keith has an incredible collection, and you're saying that he traded $4 to who to get them? Cabela's?
So it would have been Bass Pro Shops, because
right.
This was like the confusion of the purchase, and this was just like probably right after they had closed.
Okay, so you're right. Technically, Bass Pro Shops took the inventory by default. So it would have been a trade to Bass Pro Shops for the $4.
Yeah. So
rattle those off.
Bass Pro Shops would have had the General for a very short time period. From deal closing to when Keith bought the,
And you know the $4 that were traded?
Oh, I could find out. I do know that's 3 state records. They were big during that time period of buying state records. So, like, if you went to one of their stores, you could take pride if you're from West Virginia to see the West Virginia state record. That'd be awesome, right?
Right.
So they were big in the state records, and then I know it was 3 state records and a 250-inch non-typical, but I don't know exactly which ones. But I can find.
That's fine. That's still cool, though. That'd be cool. Cool part of the story on your video series to tell. Just because obviously for someone who's intimately interested in all this, they're going to have to, they're quantifying what's the trade. You know what I mean? This is like it's like NFL draft. Like, who are we trading for who? You know, getting 4 players for 1. Who are we trading? And those state records could be really cool stories too, obviously. I mean, you get into the weeds.
That's one crazy thing about getting into this antler world only for a little over a year is the stories on some of these deer are unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Just crazy stuff happening.
So 2 things that I think we have, and of course we could dive so much deeper here, but 2 things that I think are left, unsettled here. And I'm ADD, so I'm going to give you the 2 and then we'll break them down. Number 1 is what this has done for your faith and what this has done for you, because you have said multiple times talking about the General and how this has changed your life. So that's 1. But then the number 2 is what have you done, if anything? Maybe the answer is nothing, and that's okay, with this unsettledness of, you said they took the deer out of the world records.
Yeah.
Is it still out?
It's still out. Yeah. It's gone forever.
Really?
Yeah.
Like that's final.
Yeah. Yeah.
And break this down for a dummy like me and maybe someone else who doesn't get it, because they were altered and it's been proven that they were altered, or that there was some kind of a scandal that they, is it because the story's tainted? Like, what disqualifies it?
The fact that the pictures were real, it's proven that they were manipulated. And I did reach out to the North American Shed Owners Club, to the owner, and I said, hey, I probably know the answer to this, but the General can't stay in the book. And he said, unfortunately, no. He did go out to point, like, the frame is not manipulated. So when you look at the frame, the 6 points by the 6 points, like, in his opinion, it was a big deal that it wasn't added to. It was just stickers that were gone. So the frame is still an unfathomable. It's still the biggest typical frame that's all natural known. Typical frame known.
And you had an inch calculation there.
This right antler This right antler is 108 inches. That's 9 feet just on the 6 points. So just forget about this for a second. Let's talk about the 6 points. It's 108 inches. It's 9 feet of antler, and that is 12 inches bigger than Milo Hansen's right antler.
And Milo Hansen is the number 2.
Is the world record. Is the world record
now.
in Crockett. Yeah.
And let's clear this up. Now it's a world record because of the general being removed?
So it's a little bit apples to oranges because in Boone and Crockett, the antlers have to be attached to the skull plate. So the general being shed antlers never had a shot in the world of ever being in a Boone and Crockett record book because it's shed antlers. So the North American Shed Hunters Club, which has been around for a really long time, recognized the fact that Boone and Crockett doesn't offer up a record book for shed antlers. So they said, what an opportunity. Let's create the Boone and Crockett book for shed antlers called the North American Shed Hunters Club. So they have, it's a big organization. They have shed antler records for multiple species. It's known as like the Boone and Crockett of the shed world. Yeah. So that's where the gist was just in that book. And the thing about it is when you talk about the greatest typical of all time or the biggest of all time, we're not referring to the deer in the record book. We're referring to like a deer that actually walked on planet Earth that had the rack, right? It's two different things.
Yeah.
It's apples and oranges a little bit.
Yep. It makes sense. It does. So, but
put the deer on the hoof, Milo, put the deer on the hoof, general side by side. The general is bigger than Milo.
Okay.
But now we got different record books because one's cast off antlers and then the other, Milo was awesome enough to kill the biggest deer in the world,
Well, and I was going to say, this might be I love getting into the weeds here. Who's quantifying the spread since these are shed antlers? How are you getting a spread if you would have, and I'm guessing you're saying that no matter what the spread was, it still beats the Hansen buck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. So in the North American Shed Hunters Club, they do not recognize the spread as a measurement. It is only the two antlers. It's just like the Boone and Crockett scoring system, only you don't account for spread at all. So officially they're at 195 and 1/8 inches net score in the North American Shed Hunters Club. And then from that, you would have to deduct the stickers, which we think was 3 and 1 7/8. So that would come off the 195 and 1/8. And then if you wanted to compare them to Milo, you would then have to guess on the spread, right? So
and Milo with the spread is what? Do you remember? Do you know the score?
5/8. And Milo's inside spread's 27 inches, but if you gave the general just a 25-inch spread, you're still north of 213 by a couple inches. So,
man. Okay, so some unsettledness here, these two topics. Maybe I know the answer. Let's stay in the. Do you do nothing with the? I mean, I guess you've uncovered it that it's out of the world record. So, what are you doing with this, if anything? Are you doing nothing with it? It's kind of is what it is.
We go back to what we talked to earlier, right? We go back to leaning on our faith. Romans 8:28 says, "For all things work together for good, for them that love God and who are called according to His purpose." And that's cool to say, and it sounds great. But when you're living in a negative all thing, it's really hard, right?
Yes.
But what else are you going to do? I mean, it's hard, but what else are you going to lean on? So I just kind of leaned into that verse and prayed about it. And so, I mean, the answer is this, you got to own them. You got to own the fact that this thing was a world record. He's not anymore. Man cut him down. He's out. You got to own the fact. And then you really look where's the blame to be put? Is it the deer's fault? Yeah. There's a mindset in some of the collecting world and the scoring world that any manipulated rack is then taboo. It's worthless. It's valueless. It has no value whatsoever. And I want to change that narrative. I don't think that's fair. I think that the deer didn't do it. Yeah. I think the deer's a victim. So there's a Sal Aarons buck. A lot of the collectors, scoring people would say, "Oh, it's like 212 net typical." knocking on the world record, but it came out that it had stickers. Why take that away from the deer? Like, there's a clear victim, the deer, and there's a clear criminal, whoever took the stickers off, right? So this whole thing, I think, has led me to start a brand called the OG. And we're going to celebrate the general. We're going to celebrate Sal Aarons as the way God grew them, as they were original by God. And I think there's a bigger message here that for you and the listeners, like, you are the OG. You are an original by God. Man's going to cut you down. Bad things are going to come your way. You're going to have to lean into Romans 8:28. Whether you like it or not, you don't have any other choice when bad things come along. And so we're going to put the OG, we've got a logo, we're going to put it on some apparel, and we're going to remind people that you, no matter what, are an original by God. And you can lean into that fact.
I love it. I love it. So it almost ties these two together. I mean, you're tying these two pieces that I said were unsettled together, and which is, what has this done for your faith? And just rest in that a little bit more for me, because we sat there fairly quickly in a very dark moment where this comes out to you. It's, I guess, proven. I mean, you've settled with the fact that it's proven. I mean, my only curiosity to this, it's proven, is there's no chance that like any of this is some kind of an AI manufacturing. So nobody can talk to Barnhart, right? Barnhart's passed to say that there was stickers and I never altered any of this, right? No one ever, you don't have that, right? You don't have anything from him.
So I flew out and met Bill Sainer, the guy that posted the photos, like immediately flew out there. He invited me to his house. We went and saw the farm. Bill Sainer is a salt of the earth guy.
Okay.
There's no way in the world these pictures are not real.
And tell me who Bill is to the story again.
Bill was the friend and neighbor of the Barnhart family that got excited when he saw the post about the general's antlers coming out, and he posted the pictures, the Stainer photos, we call them, of Ben Barnhart holding the general with the stickers.
Yep. Okay. And he'll be in your documentary.
What's that?
He'll be in your documentary.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said we're going to have to lean on the verse you gave in Romans, and it reminds me as well, we're going to have, it's one of my favorite verse in the Bible is John 16:33. For I assure you that you will find trouble in this world, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. And, it's just, I always think about that in these low, embarrassing, deflating, just dark moments that God said, I told you you're going to find trouble in this world, but I already overcame it.
Right.
No matter what it is. And, Josh, I'm sure you've heard people that just say, like, I had a mentor one time that was like, we always get so worked up about business and we get worked up about this and that, but it's just money at the end of the day. It's just money. And it's like, that's easy to say when it ain't yours. Like, it's easy to say when you're not the dude in the trenches.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not writing the insurance check for me, it's easy for you to say that. But I think it's the only good way. This story for me feels like this is a great way to measure your grit. Like, let's measure your grit. Like, we got to have it, right? You said it earlier. We got to have grit. We got to have all these things. And I said earlier, Charlie Kirk said it takes no talent to have courage.
Yeah.
Well, measuring your grit is deciding what do you do in that valley? What do you do? And it's just amazing. What I'm hearing from you, if I can articulate this clearly, is that you're turning this mishap into a mission. You're turning this problem into a opportunity. You're turning this into a message. You're choosing to create a foundation from this that will cause a ripple effect. And I've never thought about it this way. Hearing you say it's not the deer's fault, I've never thought about it this way, but I emphatically agree. It's not the deer's fault. God grew what he grew. We were enamored by what we were enamored by. It was man and flesh that mucked it up. And goodness, don't we hear of that story quite often?
Don't we do that? Don't me and you do that?
We sure do.
Yeah,
we sure do.
It's
Dude, this is
that I have on my computer at the office. I have a tape on the bottom of my monitor. It says, "I have overcame the world. Jesus." This reminds me of I feel like life is a short-term experiment, we're here for such a short time. Give me I'll lock in 90. Give me 80. I'll lock in 85. Give me 85 years. It's nothing compared to eternity. It's just a short-term experiment.
Yep. I got one last question now that you're super, super, super into this stuff. Well, I could have a million, but for both of our sakes of doing something else fruitful today, which I think my listeners would agree, this has been pretty fruitful. But here's the question. This is deep, but I think you're a guy that's qualified to answer it. You think there'll be deer in heaven?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, good. All right, good.
Why would you go if there wasn't?
Well, wait. Are we going to be allowed to hunt them?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The thing about heaven is it's mysterious. I don't know what's there. Nobody really knows what's there. It's going to be awesome. Time is gone. It's never dark. That's awesome. So then the rest I can just make up because it's not what I think is not going to change it anyway. So I can dream a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I think heaven is going to be so great that I just think that, I don't know the answer to that, but I know it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Dude, this has been incredibly beneficial. Again, you're going to have to come back on because there's a lot about your story that is not just the general. And I love that the general is becoming part of your story, but it's a huge belief builder for me. And I want you to know that if no one else gets to tell you enough, I love watching it. I love watching this, but you're empowering people like me to believe in ourselves, to go chase it, go chase the dream, accept the grit, accept the call. Man up, woman up, however you guys want to say it, go chase the things that God puts in front of you. Because what I have always said, Josh, and I'm interested in your opinion on this. I have always said that I'd love to some days not have the dreams and these euphoric and these crazy ideas that just give me so much anxiousness that God puts on me. I'd love to not have them sometimes because I feel like I could relax more. I feel like my brain would rest more. I feel like life might be easier. But what I finally found through that is that someone told me a while back, 5-10 years ago, that what if God called me to go chase these visions because there's people praying in their life for the opportunities to come along that if I don't go chase the dream and the vision that God has instilled in me, it will not unlock the blessing for the opportunity for those people. And I take that personally.
Yeah, that's powerful, man.
And think about your journey, and I'm just asking you, thinking about your journey, when you go chase business ventures, when you and Alex go chase doing things, or when you go chase this acquisition of land or whatever it may be, you go tell this story. How many people's lives, how many people have been praying for opportunities to come along their path that only happened because you were bold enough to pursue the unknown that God has put in you. And I that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me believing I'm supposed to chase.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great point.
It's wild. I mean, and I'm sure for you, I don't take any of that as patting my own self on the back. I just take that as God giving me a hug to say, listen, man,
go get it.
There's people that are depending on you.
Yeah. Yeah. We think about God. What did God did two big things the way I see it. God created and God gave, right? God created. Could you imagine creating the earth, speaking it into existence, forming man with your hands from the dust of the ground? God created and then he gave. So you're most like God when you give, right? So God created, God gave. That's what we got to do. Let's go create cool businesses. Let's create opportunities. Let's create stuff. And then let's be a giver, right? Let's just give. Yep. I mean, you think about, somebody asked me one time, they said, they told me, they said, there's some, if a man walked in with a gun and was going to shoot me or my wife, he's like, I'd like to think I'd be man enough to take the bullet. And I even have a couple close friends, if it had to be me or them, I think I would be man enough to step in the way and have them kill me instead of my friend.
Yep.
And he said, and then he said, but there is nobody on the face of this earth that I would give my son's life for. Think about that. Would you give one of your kids' lives for somebody else?
And that's exactly what God did.
But God did.
His only son.
For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. That's a love I cannot comprehend, what I'm so thankful for.
Well, and to paint that picture deeper, imagine if you're the family that struggled to have kids. Imagine if I look at my wife, we're pregnant. Imagine if you aren't fertile. Imagine, literally, missed my vasectomy by a weekend. So imagine, and I'm not downplaying the people that aren't fertile, right? It's been easy for me. Okay. I mean this sincerely. It's been easy for us to have children. It's been easy, not been hard at all. God has blessed us amazingly that we have had zero issue. Imagine the people that aren't fertile for a second. The people like my sister went through in vitro. Went through. I know of people that have surrogate, mothers and all these things that are hundreds of thousands of dollars to maybe have one baby, to have one son, and then to be asked to give it up. It's hard to think about. It's easy to say, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, and you just rattle it off. And it's like, yeah, it's great. Yeah. His only. It's not like he had 3 other sons. It's not like he had 5. It's not like Josh, I got a whole litter, right? Tyler, I got a litter. Like, this is my only one. And, it's just wild to think. So I guess we're going to leave our guests with that. Deer hunting, the general, faith, dirt, family, grit, courage, West Virginia, buck deers, baby dog. We've covered a lot. Glenville State Pioneers. Glenville State University. Yeah. Sponsored by Glenville State University. Sincerely, Josh, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being willing to share what your journey has looked like. And the best part that I want to make sure is the most valuable part is the lows. Everybody loves to have their highlight reel. Everybody loves to have the perfect Instagram. Everybody loves to only talk about the successes. You could lie and say you own $1 million set of antlers and life's just beautiful and it's just been awesome. And it's just been this walk in a field of lilies.
Yeah.
And that's not what you led with. There was truth and chaos in that and dark moments that have led you to a message. And that's what God
true.
does.
I've been fortunate to meet a lot of business people, and I've got to the point in my life when I meet them, I'm like, all right, that's cool. You were successful. Tell me about the heck to get here. I want to hear how you had grit. Yep. And I'm telling you, it's unbelievable.
I'll give you and everyone else listening the last, we can close with this. My favorite podcast that you just talked about is a guy named Ryan Hawk. AJ Hawk is his brother that played at Ohio State. Ryan played, I think, at Miami University, but he's a really successful business guy now. Ryan Hawk, he has a podcast called The Learning Leader. And the thing that they do, that he literally interviews business owners on there every single episode, and they talk about their failures. And he talks about, he'll ask them, what was your white flag moment? When was your white flag up? And like for you and your own story of like this $1 million transaction for some bones, where was your white flag moment? When was the white flag up? And it's probably when you find out that, hey, they have substantiated, these have been altered.
Yep.
And you got to decide what to do right there. You got to decide. And it's just awesome because that's what this podcast is bringing on some of the top names. Like you can go back in his archives. That guy has interviewed the top names you can think of, and they always talk about their failures. And it's so belief building because it's like, wait a second. Yeah. You mean to grow Nike to the brand that it's been today, you like failed multiple times and it like went bankrupt and it was a failure. And we only hear about the Nike today. Like, no, there's a lot of dark chapters along the way. So cannot wait to see the movie. Cannot wait to see what happens here. Listeners, you owe it to me. I can't afford to get Josh on here. I just somehow tricked him into coming on. So you're very welcome. But thank you. Thank you so much for being on here. This has been awesome.
I appreciate you having me on and letting me tell a little bit of the story. Thank you so much.
Well, we're going to tell it some more. I love it. I'd love to bring Josh onto a live panel. If you guys agree, let me know on social media somehow. We'll get Josh and a few others on a live panel and talk about deer and Jesus and bigness and all the fun stuff that I think makes a great life that will honor God. With that, sidebar over here, I don't even have a 150 to shoot. So now that Josh is, just talking about all these 260s and 350 deer and all, I don't even have a 150 to shoot, but it's all good. We're going to stay on a high note here. Real talk. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of the Legacy Through Land podcast, and we'll see you next week.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode. If you're finding value in this content, we'd love to hear from you. It'd mean a lot if you could share with us how this podcast is helping you on your journey and let us know of any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Be sure to connect with us on all social platforms at Legacy Acres Land Co. and subscribe to stay updated on when new episodes drop. We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Legacy Through Land podcast, and we'll see you next week.